back to here. Yeah, and the nice thing about like just doing them in sequence like this is you don't have to rebase your branch. So if in fact I can do it right now. So my version of master is not up to date with origin master, right? So the next step I would do is git pull rebase origin master. But if I had branched first, git checkout b, and we're going to do something. So our next task is basically like a basic table view. So let's go basic table view. Okay, so now basic table view doesn't have the latest changes that we just made to master. So if I do an ls here, and I don't see, well, ooh, I do see a utils. Why do I see a utils? Oh, okay, all it has is node modules in it. That's interesting. Okay, that's because
I think
Git doesn't care about node modules, so it doesn't really see it as being there, right? So that's fine. But then if we go git checkout master again, and we now do the pull, git pull rebase origin master. Okay, we get all these files. That's great. But then we do a git checkout, and we go back to our new thing, basic table view. And we look in utils again, we will see that we don't have those changes because it was based on the old master and not on the updated master. You can see it graphically. Like there's like a git. I forget what the git command is. To see, there's a git command to like see your history visually. I like some of these little kind of. Little tools that are kind of nice for this kind of stuff. So for example, you can see, this isn't really that helpful. It's really not that visually useful. I was hoping to see like a clear merge history here. Okay, I was hoping to show you a graphical view of this, but it's not looking like it's going to be very easy to do. Anyway, the point is simply that I now need to rebase this branch off of master again. So the command is going to be git rebase master. So I'm saying now, I want you to go look in master again and pull all those changes that have come from master since I last branched from it and pull them into this branch as if they were already there, as if they were there from the beginning. That's what rebase means. Change the base out from underneath. So it's going to go fast forwarding, blah, 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 and now I look in utils, and like magic, it's pulled all that stuff in for me. So, I mean, that'll happen all the time. Like if you're on an extended team, everybody's changing master, you know, the pull requests are happening all the time. You might have to do this many times before you're finished with your work. You might have started on basic table view at the beginning of the day, and then 10 changes got merged into master by your teammates. So maybe 10 times in the day you're doing a git checkout, you're going back to master, you're doing a git pull rebase origin master, you're going back to your branch, you're doing a git rebase master. That's the happy story. If they're modifying files that you're modifying, then you have to deal with conflicts. Maybe we'll deal with that another time. So, all right. So getting back to what it is that we're trying to do, our basic table view. So we got a mock-up, got all this great stuff. We're going to try to show every one of these records. First name, last name, email, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's get started. I think we're probably at a point where we can kind of mob this up a little bit. Again, the drill is going to be 2 minutes each. One person is going to be kind of quote-unquote the programmer. That doesn't mean it's all on you. If other people have ideas, that's fine. But if you have a general direction you'd like to go, that's great. If you feel like you don't know what the heck's going on, please say so, and we'll just like take a step back and talk about things, and no judgment ever. about not knowing what's happening. And we'll just pass it around. So I've been talking long enough. Dobie, would you like to start us off? How would we start?
I'm going to build well, it's a mock class here. So, build a table, obviously.
Yeah, build a table.
Okay.
Other people can feel free to throw ideas out too, right?
The blue one here, did you mention that, I think, last week? What is that?
Okay, the blue one, good question. So if we look at our Trello board, here, let's, yeah, it's a paginator. It's hard to it's hard to see what it's doing. Yeah. So there's another story down here for the next page button. So it's not real clear. Let's be a little more clear about this. So we want a basic table with styling as shown. At the top is a pagination control, which will be done in the next story. So for this story, just load 100% of the records in the database onto the screen. So good to clarify that. Any other requirements you'd like to clarify? So we're also, I should have pointed like not needed there too, right?
It's not needed. Why is it there? This is a history of development, such that there's an idea that was rejected at some point? Or?
These will come in the future.
Okay, so future stories.
Yep, future stories.
Okay.
So I should have pointed to that one too, because it's not needed yet. Well, it is part of this sort of epic. So like we have a kind of an epic here that does like all the basic displaying. So that does the basic table view. I don't know why I have basic table here. It looks like a duplicate. So I'm going to delete this one. All right. So Dobie, your turn's up. You did a great job clarifying requirements. So that's brilliant. That's an awesome thing to do.
Does it make sense to, so the end goal for that card is to actually have this thing built out and bring it under some data?
Yeah.
But does it make sense to just go get a sample version of the data to work with as we build the table and starting out? Like we did.
Oh, like just like pull down a local copy of the JSON or something, or
like 2 or 3.
Yeah, like
and just have it hard coded in the app or something, or
I mean, that's
sure.
probably what I would end up doing. Just build it.
That sounds fun. Let's do that. Let's okay. So step one, maybe we'll do some.
Basically a sample of what JSON would be, and see if we can get like 5 of them the same way we did the other one.
Yeah, implementation notes. So pull down some test data that can be used offline. It's a good idea. Maybe, what, 2 or 3 records? Anything else?
Not that I
Okay. All right. So I mean, the list of stories here is a little fuzzy. So like we have bootstrap styling down here as a third. So I guess strictly speaking, the requirements are that we don't need a styling shown. So the basic table with whatever ugly styling at this point that you like.
Default styling,
Yeah.
aka not styling.
Yeah. Default. So basic table at the top of the pagination control. Yeah, cool. We could even just like this story could just be like use canned data, and then we could have another story which is like go fetch all the data from the API. It's really nice to break things up like that, you know. So I would recommend doing that. Just
Source of trivial.
Pardon?
If these subtasks are so trivial, do we bother with creating a story?
well, I mean, it depends on how long it's going to take. If it's going to be like less than half an hour, no.
Okay.
Anything more than a half an hour, like an hour or two, I like to have stories for.
Okay.
Just use canned data. I mean, it's probably going to take us a little while to build this thing out. So I think it's worthwhile. All right. So Jenna, I think you're up. Are we ready?
So that's our first step. We want to. I'm not even sure where to go and get it. Do we want to get a chunk
Mhm.
of the JSON that's coming back and bring it into apps.js
Mm-hmm.
as data.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So we could go get it from Firebase, or we have some code. We can use curl. Yeah, absolutely we could. That might be the easiest thing. We also have an app that generates it, which we could just generate it to a file instead of generating it to Firebase.
Oh yeah.
Then you'd have to change it. So
You'd have to change the app. Yep.
delete a whole bunch.
Actually be more work.
It might be more work. Yeah. So either way is fine with me.
I like curl.
All right, it's curl. It's good to have practice with curl. Okay, so do we remember what to do? Oh, there's hints.
Capital X.
Capital
or
X.
Dash capital X for we want get, so just.
Yeah, get is default, so it's not really necessary.
Oh, nice. And then URL.
Yeah, go steal your URL.
URL is nicely stuck right here for us. Bam.
And we want to add an entry to the end of that URL.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, thing.
And then
Slash JSON?
dot JSON.
.json. All right.
And don't we want to pick just like that'll get all of it?
Sure will.
Maybe would it be bad for the all into the survey just the one time rather than trying to. Otherwise, if you're going back and forth and the user constantly getting it, you might as well just load everything once and after that.
I'm with you.
Just
Mm-hmm. All right. Blam! Stop it. We don't like that. All right. So what instead?
So let's go and just get like a entry.
Oh, it's gonna be bad either way. Those blobs are large.
Well, then we could just store that directly into a file.
Yeah, just stuff in a file.
Yeah.
So user data.json.
Yeah.
already
It just seems ridiculous to have the whole server in the file.
Why?
100 entries.
What's the
Why aren't we stripping it down to 3 4 now? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
what's the downside?
To having all of them.
Uh-huh.
Well, because then when we're like testing it, we have a whole like 100 entries instead of like the 3 or 4 that's like much easier to deal with. Yeah. Personal preference, I guess.
Yeah, maybe we deal with it when it makes
Or
us sad.
breaks or something.
Uh-huh.
Cool. I mean,
Um,
it's not hard.
all right. So.
Could we have used wget as well as
Sure.
curl?
Mhm.
I haven't used curl before. But can we use wget?
Yep. wget works. You can't copy as wget from Chrome, so I find it a little less useful for that reason. All right, so it's 10.3 megabytes. Sweet. We must have made them pretty large.
I made them like 400 pixels or something.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
I think that was just like the test or whatever. So
Yeah.
That's cool.
consider it much. Yeah, no, we can totally.
Man, it like broke Vim. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Hot and
Vim-
deadly.
All right.
Very haunting.
Yeah,
image.
truly.
I don't know if I've ever done that.
Yeah, that's hard to do. All right, so we've got files. So let's go look at our stuff.
I got
Oh.
all caps forbidden for the first time this morning.
All caps forbidden.
All caps forbidden. It's like, oh no. That was all the information.
Wow, that's wild. Cool. All right, so Jen, I think you're still up. What's next? This is our make DB.
So yeah. I think we're heading over to apps, right?
Yeah, app.js.
And then in the class app, I think, but we'll remember, we want to get some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to literally pull it from the file or if you want to import it from the file.
I think you have to import it. So you'll go import data equals, import data from / and I think I might have put it in the wrong spot. Also, this is making my computer really sad. Hold on a second. So let's see.
Switch over and then control.
Yeah.
Just
The
control thing.
Yeah?
Yes. It's
Snap.
what key grep is.
Key grab.
Process
Process grep?
show you the process of whatever you did it. You chose the label key grep.
Nice. All right. It's dead. That's helpful. Thank you. All right. So I think I put this in the wrong spot. Move user data to, I think we want it inside of source so it can be imported directly from our code. So then import data from user data dot JSON. Yeah, no, I think we can actually use it. So, all right, Nick, you're up.
So is that's included as an object?
Yeah,
As a list of objects included?
hopefully.
Oh, no, it's- Alright.
We can probably look at it here. Yeah, let's see.
We're gonna want to turn it's
It is a list of objects. Well, no, sorry. It's
No,
a
not
it's a dictionary of objects. Yeah.
so we're gonna wanna relate to how we return it into a array, into an array, because it seems to be able to go to a we can't index it.
Okay.
So we need to turn it into an index we can index
Sure. I mean, we can index through the keys. I mean, we can do an object.keys on it or whatever, but
Can we assume is it always gonna be in the same order? Can we just look back on the that is something we're supposed to
I don't know.
Sorry, what was that?
Right. Sorry, I have too much once. Huh? Say again.
Well, I was thinking like if we can rely on the keys always being in the same order, then yes, we could just iterate through it that way. Otherwise, if we want everything to make sure, if we want to make sure everything stays in the same order with data, we
What-
need to turn it into an
Let's assume we've talked to our API designers and they told us that the list of keys is stable.
array.
I think that's actually true for Firebase.
What was the last thing you said? Talk to the designers in
And we've agreed that the list of keys is going to be stable.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Now, that's interesting. So,
I mean, we can just do. It's just like it would just be like data dot values, right? To try to do the array of values, right?
mhm.
So we can just do that and then have. Like, it doesn't take much to do that.
Okay. Oh, sorry. All right. So, Michael, you're up.
Yeah, I guess my thinking was that we would do like an array.from on this, but
That's interesting. Okay, I can see that that might work. All right, so we're going to do an array.from, and I need to look that up because I'm not real familiar with it, unless you got the syntax under your fingers.
but I'm not quite sure how to define the length, because we don't have an idea what that would be.
Well, let's see. In terms of the length, well,
Well, with the keys,
so I mean, data.values or
I don't want to throw that away.
Does it have to do object
object dot. Is it object.values?
Yeah.
Cool. Object.values, and is that a function call?
And then put data.
Oh, past it for that. Okay.
So, what all we're trying to do here is we're trying to, what is the thing that came into our file?
Get these things installed.
It's not a JSON. It is a
It
JSON.
will be an object. Here, let's do something like this. Let's see. We can do a debugger right here. Let's play with it. Yes, lint disable no debugger.
Because all we're trying to do, right, is we're trying to make that, whatever that data type was included, something we can use.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so we're gonna grab debugger. Let's start having a look at this thing. So we've got it. We've got our little greasy little fingers on it now. Ooh. Data's not defined. Data's not defined. I wonder if we might not have a Webpack loader for this. It's kind of a drag.
we're doing it super programmatically. Is there like a fast and dirty way to do this, and then at the end we just have to actually bring in the legitimate 100 pieces of data?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm all about being mercenary with it a little bit here. So, so we can convert it to a JavaScript file is one approach. So okay, so the problem is that in order to load things that are not JavaScript, which this is not JavaScript, Webpack needs to know how to deal with that kind of file. Webpack knows how to deal with a logo.svg. It doesn't know how to. Apparently, it doesn't know how to deal with a .json file. And so you can, like, Webpack is super pluggable. You can go get a loader for JSON and pull it in and all kinds of stuff like that. The problem with that is that we've got training wheels on right now on our project because Create React App is hiding all the Webpack details from us. So we can't really go in there and fiddle around with the configuration of Webpack to get a new custom loader for user data. So that's essentially the problem. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that by just doing a console.log data here, which is going to be fun. Reload here. I'm pretty sure. Nope, it did load it. I just didn't have access to it there. So if I go data now, that's weird. I can't play with it on the console. Here, maybe it's too small. I can't play with it on the console, but I can log it and I can see it. Okay, so never mind. Everything I said just now about it not knowing how to load JSON data is wrong. It does. We just couldn't play with it very easily on the console. So these are the objects that we're playing with. They all have keys. They all have all these attributes, etc. So who are we on? I guess we're on back to you, Dobie.
Okay.
So we are trying to now take this data and like craft up a table.
Okay. Be the horse, but
Sure. You can also write pseudocode too if you just
yeah.
want.
Well, I'm just going to table, so I first want to keep the table in the return.
No, we don't have a table, so we can start there. I mean, none of this stuff makes any
right.
sense, right?
Started so it gives a sense of where to stick things.
Yeah, so let's grab a table. So table, table,
We have 6
two-head,
columns.
two-body, two-body. Okay, there's our basic table structure. I think. Why is it mad? Oh, it doesn't like. Okay. It doesn't like that it's empty, basically. I haven't put anything in it. We'll put stuff in it. It's just mad about the fact that it's empty so far. It'll become unmad when we start fleshing it out. We can also just start by like statically writing it, or just grabbing one of them, or what have you.
Yeah. There will be one static element, and that will be the table header, I think.
Table header, yeah, we can start there.
So first name, last name,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or something. Mock.
Okay, so
Bootstrap, okay, so it's done. Okay, so let's start into this. We need it to this. It's JSON, right?
our data's actually an object
It's an
that we can
object.
play with.
It was JSON.
It was JSON. It got parsed by Webpack and
Okay.
brought in just for us.
So start up.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Okay, Chris.
I mean, you can go ahead and make like a table header real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Name, address.
Yeah.
Or we've got to get like user data involved.
Yeah, no, I guess the only thing I'm wondering is, like, does it make sense to try to interrogate these objects and go like, oh, actually all of the things are right here.
Oh, and then we could use that just to make the table header.
We could. I mean, it's a possibility. That might be harder because we maybe don't actually want to display the password hash. So maybe, Yeah, we don't want it that out. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. So maybe let's don't do that. Okay.
So then, like, let's make a table header.
I'm full of bad suggestions.
The info we want.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know why we're not.
Right. So sorry, you're talking about the table header?
Yeah, right
Okay.
there. So like, let's make that name.
Name.
And another table header.
Yep. Do you want to reference this?
What about like, how would doing just name, email, and like something else before we get everything hooked up together?
And this is so similar to the first app that we created.
Mhm.
And just export this to the common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's just do state for now.
And state. Okay. Name and state. Cool.
And then we want to make some sort of loop adding to another variable that will just under the header.
Mm-hmm. In the T body. Okay. Jenna, you're up.
Great. So, I mean, what about? I didn't talk about how we were going to get this in here, but I would still be a little stuck on the picturing. I still have trouble picturing what this data looks like. So I guess the next goal would be to just pull in a few of those. So those are objects within an object, or those are this is one big object, and each of those is the key, and all of the other stuff is the value.
Right. It's that. Why don't we grab one?
Yeah, can you see one?
Yeah.
So like console data.
Or just even const one record. Or how about first index
Yep.
equals object dot keys of data 0. How do you like that?
So that thing is iterable by index.
I'm sorry, say again?
That thing can be iterated through by index.
I believe so. Let's just console log
oh,
that
no,
thing.
Keys can. I see what you're saying.
Keys
Keys
can.
it's all things that can react. So whatever the first key is.
I guess I could have done values too for that matter and then just grab the first one. Maybe that would be better. And then we can console log, and that wouldn't be first index, but it would be first user. Console log, oops, first user. All right, and then we'll not log the entire data set. Let's see if that works. Kind of didn't. Do we know object.values? Oh, sorry. So object values of an object.
Is there an object that items?
It looks like this is what we want. Sorry?
The key is not really usable for us. It's just
Not, it might end up being useful because we need to have a React requires us to have a key on every row, so the key might actually be useful for that. It's
so do we need to do
sure.
Do we need to maybe do object that value data and the zero on two different lines or something? Like
Do we need to do object.values the data on what now?
so pull the zero index. Like, is that working without the zero index?
Oh, okay, let's find out. Where is it breaking? Oh, it's actually, the problem was it wasn't, it was breaking before we console logged it. Okay. So yes, so grabbing the first one will work. And that's just the thing without the key. So that's fine. So we've got one of these things. So if we go back to 0, we can then do, and actually, so Nick, you're up.
Well, if we wanted to we're just working with this one thing, and we're going 2 by 2 by.
Yeah. What happened to my open keybind? That's weird. I'm sorry? Oh, thank you.
The brackets, first user,
All right.
So you just need to do, I think you need to do represent.
Oh, I sure do. Yep, thank you. Not sure why it's angled.
Your T body, your closing T body.
This is not correct?
Slash T body.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I see. It did a self-closing thing. All right, it's happening now. Let's go look at it. We got a thing. We got a thing in a bag. All right.
So next, what we want to do is, before we do the return, we're going to make an empty array and put it through the just to do it for
Const rows equals.
maybe const for that.
Oh, I thought we were going to do a map. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Before we continue,
yeah.
can I ask what plugin we used for ESLint?
What plugin? Yes. So,
So,
no problem. Yeah, so we used, I think, no, that's recommended. Don't care about that. Yeah, it's just called ES. I'm just using the one called ESLint.
oh no, just what plugin for ESLint for React?
Oh.
Sorry,
The package.json file.
I thought VS Code was in the show. That'd be pretty cool.
So that's the set.
How do we get it to stop yelling about the React not incorporated?
That's a good question. I think we use a slightly different set of imports.
Okay, that's fine. I don't want to derail everything.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll get back to that. Okay, so Michael, you're up.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, are we using like an empty Pittsburgh pattern here?
Sure.
So just empty array.
All right, we'll do the let approach.
I don't think it has to be for adding this to
Yeah, I think that's a little gross, but sure, that's fine. Yes.
It looks like something other than it is.
Right.
So I guess, I mean, we want to have a for each loop in here at some point, but
Sure.
I'm not quite sure how to do that.
We can go object.values of data.forEach. So that will iterate through each record. And that becomes an anonymous function. And it's going to be a user, or a user record.
And we're gonna use push, right?
Yeah, object.
Goes.push.
And maybe steal that code down.
Ah, we already wrote it. Bam.
Does it need any, make it a string or anything, or is that gonna work?
That'll work.
So then get rid of the line down there, and put in the rows.
Mm-hmm. See how that suits us.
Then change that.
Yeah, we'll do that next. All right. Same
Hold
person
on.
over and over again.
Yeah, first user needs to be changed.
I gotta get
User record.
We also have zero, sub-zero.
At this point, first user is no longer being used.
So, real-
Blam. So what's the optimization we want to do next?
Show the best of you.
I don't know. I was just going to go const rows equals dot map return.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that does the same thing.
I don't mean to say it, but I'm sorry.
All right, cool. Great. So let's see, who's up? Dobie, are you up?
That's me.
All right,
Sorry.
cool.
Well, okay, well, looking at the, we have here only 3 columns.
Yeah, so the first
and-
thing is it's mad. We have an
Oh,
error.
right. So you need, or,
Yeah, so this what it's saying is it wants a key here of something.
yeah.
Pass that through user record as another. Pass it. Oh, right. You could do an index here. That is that what you meant?
Yes.
Just number and
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good idea.
One thing that might be more stable is to use the key that's being returned by the API.
Yeah, so if we change object.values to object.entries,
Entries, cool.
yeah, it's like doing dot items and that. So now, user record index of 0 will be the key, and user record index of 1 will be the record is nowhere else. Does that work?
Are you saying like that? Yeah, destructuring?
Yeah, it'll be like that.
Is there
Does it?
Right.
maybe I took too many steps at once. Let me just do the
So you're able to basically switch it to entries and then access both of those, both key and value.
right.
As iterations.
Right. So const key equals entry 0, const user record equals entry 1. The other way to write that is const key user record equals entry. So that's
the comment.
yeah. And then you can just do while you're at. You don't really need this. You can just go like that. And sorry, and not use entry at all. So now we can go. Sorry, go ahead, Jenna.
I just wanted to ask real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the chaining there is a little confusing.
Yeah, would you mind explaining that as opposed
Sure.
to using that old befuddled way?
Sure. Okay.
It's less stable.
So.
So objects.entries
So entry is going to be a key value pair now instead.
data.
So I can call entry. So maybe this would be better called key value pair. All right. So we're getting a key value pair every time from entries, and then the first item.
What default code syntax? Entries.
Oh, object.entries?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go pull it up in MDN. Object.entries, MDN. So it's saying you're going to get an object. The object is going to be a pair. So it's key value, key value. So that's what we're doing here. We're getting a key value pair. And then we know that the first one's going to be the key and the second one's going to be the value, in which case it's the user record. So the old way to do that is like this. The new destructure way to do that is just like this. And then the fancy way to do that is right here. That's the fancy way. But there's all 3 ways. Super unfancy, half fancy, and extremely fancy. Oh, extremely fancy.
I thought there might be something like that. Because that's
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Mhm.
so
Very similar.
it's the
or go to the Apache. Yeah, that's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
data is, so reminding again, data is basically an object of objects.
Data is an object of
I know that each of those
Yes.
has a primary key.
indexed, right, indexed by a key, right. It's an object of objects that are indexed by strings.
And then
So
where
the keys of data are going to the key, and the values of data, which are themselves objects, are going to keys.
Right, and we haven't used the key yet. We wanted to implement it here.
Yeah, so
And I think it's Chris's turn. Let's just see if this works. It's not mad at us anymore. It's not mad at us anymore. Yay. It's also complaining that we're not using logo anymore, so let's get rid of that. All right, Chris, so what's next?
So we have a table being generated.
Yeah, so there's our table in all its
Yeah.
glory.
Can we take a look at Trello?
Sure.
I can't like
actually make it
immediately think of what we need to do.
I mean, we kind of need, so we're trying to implement this. We don't have to have this particular, like all the styling, but we don't, it's asking for first name, last name,
Okay.
email, address, city, and
So
avatar.
yeah, let's do a table header.
Okay.
We're just trying to get data actually.
Do we want to do that? Then we have like a ton of data on that page.
This makes sense.
And that's what's for dinner.
All right. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do that then. So first name.
I have a feeling we're going to need these a few different places. Might be nice to do this programmatically.
Okay. Then let's do so above the return. Let's make another function.
Okay.
So const row headers.
Is it need to be in the renderer at all, or is it?
I mean, neither does the row function.
Right.
I'm
It
gonna
doesn't.
break that off anyways.
Okay. Well, let's just go with whatever you're thinking. We'll factor it later.
Okay, so just const data header, row headers,
Row headers equals
equals objects entry.
object
Oh
dot
no, we
entries.
don't want. We only want one. There.
Yeah, I guess what I was maybe proposing was establishing a constant out here, like, we could do it a few ways, but like fields equals, and if equals maybe key value pair of like first name, like what the index might be. I mean, there's a few different ways of doing this, but last.
You're assuming that we're going to build this header multiple times.
I think that we're going to build the header once, and then I think we're
We're
going
gonna
to
use it
pull,
multiple times.
then we're going to pull it into here. But maybe I'm prematurely optimizing.
Call it from down there, or what do you want?
Yeah, that's all right. I'm prematurely optimizing. Let's just go with whatever. I mean, so we were trying to build out this header before I derailed everybody.
I mean,
That was a very
I don't really have much of an idea other than like, personally, the last thing I would do is add in all the fields. I guess that's like not the best idea.
That's fine.
It just,
Let's
I don't
just-
know. I
let's
was
just
like
do it,
doing
man.
A ton of, or not a ton, just like, yeah.
But what would your next thing be?
I'd probably add in just like a page header. Just like start adding spacing, not like styling.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a style-free story, if we remember. Let's see. So this is like basic table with whatever ugly styling default. So like, it doesn't have to be pretty. at this
Well,
point.
what I mean, I'd make like just like a block of the page header.
Oh, okay.
Toss in a title.
Uh-huh.
And, like, just like kind of get page layout done, just like.
Yeah, that's all going to come in the story, really.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which is kind of weird, but I think literally we're just building this thing.
yeah, that's really all we're doing.
All right, so then let's fill out the.
Let's fill this
Really
thing
want
out.
it.
All right.
Like broke.
Well, I thought that's what we were gonna do anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
for us and-
So what are fields? Email, address, city. Okay, so we have email. PH address. I'm sorry, say that again.
For this avatar thing,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Wouldn't be any fun if we didn't have something hard to do. And then th avatar. Okay. All right. So I think Jenna, you're up.
So now we want our, I'm not sure what your optimization was, but I would just go to the return there and start to map that out.
Yep. Cool. First name.
So first name is there, and then first name is middle and last name.
Yeah, it's going to start getting long, so I'm going to break these up.
And 11.
Yeah, I'm just going to do something like this. All right. First name. Last name. Is it? Oh, email's next. Address is next.
Which is that one thing?
Yeah, I think it's just one thing. And then,
I could be wrong. Is it that address or is it street?
oh, what is it in the data? I don't know what it is.
We just test this in price and it's not address.
Sure. We can also log it out. I don't know an easy way to log it out. We could throw a debugger in, although that was problematic earlier. Okay, sorry. So we don't know if it's. Sorry, just a little formatting weirdness here. That's weird. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we don't know if it's address or not, but we think it might be. It might be street, and we have city. I guess we could also go over to Firebase and poke at it. What's it tell us? It's street address. Look at that. So. All right, and then we have avatar. So what do you want to do here for that?
I feel like if we just put it in there, it's going to come in as just like a.
I think if we give it an image tag, it'll just, or like if you can
Maybe
give that string as
give
a
it the
source
source?
to an image
Try
tag,
it.
it'll render it.
I kind of don't think it's more so
img
Source.
source equals.
Do you need to do quotes when you do curly braces or
I
something?
don't think so. I don't remember how to. Is it self-closing? Yeah. Okay. But it's mad. Does it want a space? Yeah. Okay. It just wants a space. Fine.
That's pretty key.
All right.
I wish I had a hierarchy of
Of
marking. Like, will not work, not preferable.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes different editors will underline with different colors.
One level of
All right. We ready to try this out?
yeah, let's see what happens.
Giddy up.
Maybe we'll be lucky and
Bum-ba-da-bum-ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Sweet.
Reviews!
It's so good.
You gotta love that.
So shall we apply a little bit of styling here?
Yeah, make like the height and width like 50 or something. I guess it's not.
Yeah, that's styling. All right, so height. What? 56. Yes, I sure do. WIDTH.
You just do one. You don't set both.
Oh, okay.
This is their squares.
They'll automatically scale it too
Bum-ba-da-bum-ba-da-bum-ba-da-bum. Sweet.
much.
That was slower.
Look at that.
Stuff.
It's so good. All right.
Look at all our fake friends.
Look at all our fake friends. All right. So cool. That's great. So does any? So are we? What's next?
You want to break this up? Or is this
Oh, we haven't
could.
started yet?
We good? Let's get rid of
what was
that.
your theory? You were saying you don't like that it's hard coding the table.
I'm not so sure that what I wanted to do was that helpful. I mean, I was gonna iterate through, you know, a key value store and like just programmatically generate these. It'll get a little gross when we do this one though, so I'm not sure it's such a good idea. This is fine. Maybe, or just be, I don't know. I don't like the fact that this is sort of manually here and manually there, and if those, like, if it changes, right? I'd like to have like one place where you could just change both or something, but it's not necessarily a good idea. Yeah. Okay. So what else? What else do we have to do?
Do we want to break this up into components?
We could.
Otherwise, I'm not sure what else is left in this specific part.
Okay.
It was get all the data. That would be the paging.
Paging's not part of it.
Paging's not yet. So,
At the top, pagination control, which we've done in the next story.
100% of the, okay, so yeah, now it sounds like we want to actually go from the database straight into the database.
Hmm.
So like a fetch file.
Without this like file.
Yeah, we could do that. For sure. Cool. Let's do that. So we're not going to do that any longer. We no longer have data. How are we going to get data into
So
this app?
outside this, we can make another function for a fetch file.
Outside render?
Sure.
Uh-huh. Did we talk about lifecycle hooks? I think we did. Yeah, I think we did a little bit, right? So there's
Right in the beginning.
yeah, component will mount is a lifecycle hook. So this thing, so if you just Google React lifecycle methods, I guess. This might be good. There's a million articles on this. These are all the canonical ones. We're using render all the time. That's sort of the minimum one you have to have. You know, what's that?
Is it will unmount, as in like once it's unmount, run this function, or is it will unmount, run the function, then unmount? Like
Right before it unmounts, it will
Okay.
call that. Yeah, right before it mounts, it will call component will mount. Right after it mounts, it'll call.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So let's do the component. So these are all component blah. So component did mount, or sorry, component will mount is what we want first.
I don't think I actually understand what mounting is.
So mounting is just basically like first injecting this into the DOM. So loading, yeah, like well, right, like it's gonna like mounting means it has rendered. It has gone through the render method once and dumped whatever you had in the render into the browser, essentially. So component will mount gets called before that. Gets called before render. Now the other thing you can do is like so like downstream when we have like more properties that are underneath this, like we've got like subcomponents. Then we want to play with like component will receive props sometimes, or component will update, because then we can like component will mount only gets called once, and then when things change, sometimes you want to like when new properties come into a component, sometimes you want a chance to do something then too, and that's when we will call component will receive props. Then we get a chance to I don't know if we'll do that anytime soon. But that's another place that's kind of pretty often used. Like these two are kind of the big ones in general. Well, besides render, of course, which is the number one. I'd say, I'm sorry, not did mount, but will mount. Will mount is sort of the biggest one. I would say will receive props is the second biggest. You know, these other ones are just sort of kind of flesh out the story of having total control over the component.
So basically, it's putting in code that says when you're about to go and run this render function, put this HTML to the page.
Mm-hmm.
First, do this thing. And thing is basically going to be like the API call to pull in all of our data.
Exactly.
So the asynchronicity of that is built in. Like it doesn't just run one and then the other before the person's done.
Right. Well, this is gonna be asynchronous, and so we're gonna do a do a thing, and it's gonna have a dot then, and then it's gonna then we're gonna do all kinds of stuff there. So it's gonna return from do a thing right away. It's gonna jump into render after that, and then render is not gonna have any data. So we need to prepare for the fact that render is not gonna have any data when it first starts, and then data is gonna get updated in here, and then render is going to get called again. So we're going to have two. So render is going to get called twice. First, when this thing first boots and it doesn't have any data, that's a good time to put like a little empty state, like hey, I'm loading or whatever. So you could have like a version of render that runs when there isn't any data, which is kind of an empty state thing. So that kind of gives you a chance to do things, before and after the call finishes. Right, but instead of do a thing, we're going to use a different API call, fetch. Yeah, exactly. So, does anybody know off the top of their heads what this call is going to look like? A URL? Yep. And what's the URL? Head over here, grab that thing, copy. Should definitely rename that sometime.
People aren't things.
Yeah, that's right.
Even fake people.
Even fake people are not things.
So
Then we need we're just getting. Do we need an init if we're just gonna get
Do we need an init?
for the fetch call?
No.
We need like
No, we don't have to pass it anything else.
that,
Yeah.
and then convert it from the blob.
to a JSON. So,
Right. Does everybody remember that? Anybody confused by that particular thing? Oh yeah, sorry, it's a method, isn't it? Yeah. So
no, that's the JSON stringify. Okay.
yeah, so we're gonna get an object back from fetch. Fetch, that object has a JSON method on it, which will convert, which will basically find the JSON data in the body of the response and turn it into an object for us. That's asynchronous. So we're just gonna chain these together.
What's the difference between .json and .blob in that response? 'Cause I've
I don't know.
seen
I
a
don't
bunch with the response.blob that does the same thing.
like a method call for response.blob.
Yeah, response.blob, just like that. And then
And it,
then you get JSON in the next then.
oh
That's
then
like how I've seen
oh then you get a JSON string in the next then.
Or not JSON, then you get an object, just like the
Hmm.
.json. So I was confused what it was like.
I don't know. Let's look it up. Fetch.
.blob.
Yeah. Blob. Documentation for fetch is so bad.
I think it's just in the MDM, yeah. I think it's like in that using fetch.
You reckon? Okay.
Yeah, so that's how I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's better. Seems to be sort of more canonical. All right, let's use that. Why not? Blob. All right, cool.
Can I ask why are we returning response.blob?
It's just the nature of arrow functions. So it's sort of built in. It's a little syntaxy sugar thing. So if we go const foo equals input input plus 1, so we can write a function like that. That does an implicit return. So now I can go foo of 1, and that gives me 2. It's the same thing as writing const bar equals input open brace. If I do an open brace, then I have to do a return input plus 1. So those are identical. Bar 1 is also 2. If you do a one-liner, you don't have to use the return. It's a short answer.
As soon as you have more than one statement, though,
As soon as you have a brace, it opens you up, then you have to do a return.
and multiple statements therefore require a brace.
Mhm.
So I think I read somewhere that, yeah, with one statement for your function, then your functions are great with one line. Don't
Mhm.
bother with braces.
What about using like a semicolon at the end of the one line? Like import plus 1 semicolon, import plus 1 again.
So like
Semicolon right there.
Baz.
Yeah, like then another statement.
I don't know. That would make me sad. I wouldn't want to see that.
Okay.
I guess we could find out, poke it with a stick, just to see what it does, but
Yeah, you just
that would,
cancel that.
yeah.
This should not work.
Good. It's math. All right. Oh, I guess basically that was, it took that as one command,
Oh, and then the console log.
as another command.
I don't
Yeah.
know what you're doing with this.
Right. Totally. Good. That was the right thing for it to do. All right. How we doing? Do we need a short break? It's like almost 9 o'clock. Yeah. Let's take 5. And then we'll finish this out. I think we're getting close. Maybe you can. I would encourage everybody to try to remember what our definition of done was too, that we talked about last time.
Do you have notes?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Done. So we'll take photos of the whiteboards. But goes to okay. Testing. Okay. Integration. Okay. Review. Filling out the stage. Yeah, it works. And then deploy to production.
Ooh. I should turn off the Travis notification.
Triggered a break now.
Hmm?
Said I triggered a break.
Yeah.
I missed a Tuesday last week. Is that when you worked on Firebase? Is it a Firebase day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's when.
Or Thursday. I don't know.
Last Thursday. I'll
Don't
do
ask any questions about dates.
Okay.
But if you weren't here for a day,
Just
I
that
don't
one day.
remember them.
Yeah. Firebase is new. So I can catch up.
Yeah. It's pretty easy.
I hear that. It's just
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Just
Probably take like 5-10 minutes.
okay, that easy.
So if you wanted, I'd stay after class.
Multiplied by 4.
And I'm sure Peter.
Yeah. Hell, if you don't mind giving me 5-10 minutes to a brief little rundown of
Yeah.
Firebase, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Can I show you a little checklist to see if I have messed up?
Sure.
I thought I might share if other students find it interesting, but I'm going to refer to it until it becomes embedded in my memory.
Great.
When I instantiate a new project. So to find it. Here we go. So I haven't included the continuous integration stuff, Travis, but
Cool.
this is just what every approach will require.
Uh-huh. We didn't do. You didn't do an. And maybe it's not totally necessary, but there wasn't a. How long? What? How long is that state? Was there a lot left? None that went blow it.
Oh,
No. Okay. So there is. Let's look. There is a. Excuse me. ESLint standard. Okay, there is this thing. I think what we actually ended up doing was. Come on.
You looked at me like that. I thought,
We need that now. All right. This. So that's the full command that you. So you,
I split it into 2 lines here because it
Yeah.
came from 2 different.
but it's actually a lot more than that. So
Oh,
it would be
okay.
fine if it was just if you had it split up. So I'm going to throw this in the Slack.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to.
So you can replace those 2 lines with that one big line.
Fantastic. That's exactly.
Excuse me.
Okay. And
And then then you want the extend.
Oh yeah, I found that command.
So okay, so great. And then to edit.
That's right. Good. I like that. You can. That's good. And attach- Yep.
So okay, cool. Other than the
Line 12 is not necessary. If you do it, basically all, line 12 is not necessary.
okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, line 13,
13.
numbered step 12. Okay.
Okay.
All that did was line 6, but not sufficiently.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so are we ready to start back up again? Okay, so whose turn is it? Is it Jenna's? Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, what are we going to do with this data now that we have it on our hands?
We don't have to know what we need, right?
No.
We're on that.
Basically, this data down here, that data doesn't exist yet.
So give some sort of variable name there, right? That makes sense to us.
Sorry, give some, I didn't quite hear you.
You put blob.
Oh, error function, yes.
Yep. We want to pass something, right?
So there's our data.
Can we just? I don't know.
Well, we could just make like const data equals data,
Take like assign a variable there.
or just
that
return
is
data.
still some problem?
That is not how we do things in
Set
React.
state.
Set state, there we go.
Oh.
So this dot set state. Has this work?
I barely remember, but I know we need some sort of state function in a constructor.
State function in a constructor, yes. It'd be good to, if anytime we're going to do state, we should have a constructor first.
So it's this dot state, or is it constructor?
Well, first
Constructor props.
Yeah. Super props.
Oh, nice. Props.
Super prop?
No, not. Sorry.
Oh, all right, cool. I know what you're saying. All right.
Maximum super.
Cool.
And this dot state equals
Our initial state. What should our initial state be?
should we put data where
I like it.
Set state.
Okay, oops. Nick, you're up, I think.
Okay. Data colon objects dot entries. Or data.
Okay. So you want to do that, and so then we'll do something different down here.
Well, I looked it up. And they did not necessarily keep their word.
Oh no! All right, cool.
So I feel like, and they probably only want to do that once anyway, right?
All right, cool.
It makes more sense to just do that once in the state rather than doing it every time.
So when we paginate, but I know they support pagination.
With objects?
Pretty sure.
I could be wrong. But
Let's see. Firebase.
Maybe that's like a JavaScript difference.
Okay, let's just see. Firebase pagination rest. How to Firebase. So this is an important issue. Pagination. Shallow true. So, okay. Yes.
Remember, an object is a member of the type object. It is an unordered collection of properties, each of which
Gotcha. I thought there was a URL query parameter we could pass, but maybe not.
Either way, one thing is ESV entries.
Okay. All right. Let's do your thing. Sorry. Go ahead.
So then, when we're doing const rows, we just do this dot state dot data.
Right. All right.
I think we did bind. I remember, but we didn't bind data to.
We didn't bind. You don't have to bind data. You have to bind method calls.
With this dot state stuff.
Yeah, this dot state actually doesn't care what this is. You're not inside a function. So like if we were inside a function, like do a thing.
But it sounds really YouTube.
I only know this is like a copy of the code from the last one.
Okay. Wait, where are we? Oh boy, what just
Oh
happened?
yeah, those are functions. You're not binding the bit.
Something broke.
This is the functions we use for the class.
Didn't see a traceback. So that's a little weird.
That's just an important alt problem
Oh, okay, right.
for schools.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a warning.
Right. Try to be accessible. ESLint disable no debugger. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Okay, so we're getting in here. This state data is empty. Okay, great. That's just what we expected it to be first time. But it never renders. Oh, there it goes. Maybe we didn't wait long enough. This state state data is still empty. Odd. Oh, time's up. All right, so what the heck is going on? This does set state, data, entries.
Can you see what data looks like in that?
Yeah, can console log data before we do that since
Yes.
Good idea.
It's the same as the .json.
We think it's the same as JSON.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We're,
But it's hard to find what it actually is.
It's
what every other is doing, which may be the issue.
All right, console. It's a blob object.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
guessing we can't get the entries to
Interesting.
swap in the way.
yeah. I think that thing sucks.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I wanted to know what it did.
No, no, it's great. I
Yeah,
love your
it's
curiosity.
just on
It's
it.
great. Yeah, it's great. I love
We
your-
still don't know what it
You were from that. It seemed useful, but
All right, so now, oh, all right, sweet. We've got stuff that we like. Let's just continue. Bam! We've got records. All right, cool. All right, so
I just want to, if nobody else minds, can we just talk about this one and what it is?
yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's rehash what we just did.
Let's rehash what we did. What a good idea. Let's take out our debuggers too while we're at it. You want to give us a nickel tour of this code so far, Jenna?
We have more questions than answers, but.
That's fine.
So basically, what this whole stage that we just did was we were saying, all right, rather than having, artificially brought in data, we're going to actually make this API call here.
Right.
So we wrapped it in will mount. That I didn't totally follow. It's basically like a separate function from render that you put in a React component
Yeah.
that has a specific timeline of when it's triggered to run.
Right.
So I think this is like, well, that's not what you were saying, but I was thinking that it was before it renders the page.
Well, let's try it. Let's just go console.log component will mount. And let's do a console.log render and see what happens.
So you're saying it renders, then it doesn't come on and again?
Component will mount render.
That's what I expected.
Now we have an API call in flight, which is big, takes a long time. Render again, bam.
Nice.
Okay, so
Set state triggers another one.
Yeah, right. That's why we don't just go, this dot state. We don't just go, this dot state equals blah blah blah. The set state tells React all the innards inside of React. When you're done, you need to call render one again.
So I think that I don't know how other people, but I feel like the piece that's still the most sort of specific to React and confusing to me is how that component will mount. How that basically brings in the API call.
Yeah, we could have done this in another way, which might be a little bit more, a little easier for everybody. So all we did before was we just had this global data and we used it. But really a better way to do this kind of step by step would be to properly introduce data into state here. So we could do we can do a set timeout. Give it a function and let it take 500 milliseconds. And here we can go this dot set state data is object entries data. So that would be sort of the better kind of canonical way to set your state rather than just grab it from a global. So that uses the lifecycle hooks and stuff. And in this case, you'll see a similar thing. It's going to go component will mount.
How is it making
Oh. I took all the console logs out. What's that?
I think I'm not confused as to how that's running without that. Oh, okay.
We went back to the old import.
So now that's
Yes, we went back to the original import.
okay.
So line 3, import data from blah, blah, blah. So now I'm just going to use set state, and I'm going to use this dot state now in the proper way. I just introduced, initially data is going to be empty, and then after 500 milliseconds, I'm going to set data to what we imported from the file.
But this is just emulating what's actually
It's emulating, exactly. So, but again, we saw component will mount, render. It rendered nothing, and then it rendered again when the set timeout fired, and then it populated all of our rows for.
You put a set state.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do the set comment just to show?
Yeah, just to show there was a gap between things.
So fetch always returns promise, right?
Fetch always returns promise. But it doesn't matter actually what it returns, because component will mount doesn't care what you return. It's just a place to fire asynchronous events off. Really, what happens that we care about is this .set state that's called. Component will mount doesn't care that you returned a promise. It's not waiting for that promise to return before it goes and hits render. Because you saw it when component will mount render. Like it just didn't care. I could do a return. I didn't even return the promise. I could have
Yeah,
done.
so it's like weirdly secondary that we even built more asynchronous at the end of this.
Yeah,
It's not-
React
it's not
isn't. I
waiting
would just
for
say
it.
React isn't controlling or caring about our asynchronicity, right? The way that it's asynchronous is by
Doesn't call set state until it's
yeah. So it's a little bit sort of callback based in a sense. My VS Code seems to be screwed up. I need to quit it and restart it. Just a second. All right, so that's that. Let's go back to the old version of the code again. Actually, I'll just leave this in here comment. What's going on? Shoot. Oh, this thing's super mad.
Can you say what the line
I'm sorry, let's say again.
constructor props means? What I know what that's like reaching in and messing with class
Mm-hmm.
Constructor props is that a way of us just saying we're going to change the props?
I mean,
Super, I think, is bring me all the defaults and then I'm going to go with that, right?
yeah, basically. I mean, this class isn't being handed any props because it's at the top of the food chain. So I don't think that particularly matters. This is just a place where you want to define the shape of this component state and all the initial values. Like if I didn't do this, then this would break. Like if I didn't set data to be an empty array, then when we jumped into render, we're calling this .state.data.map. If data was undefined, it would go map is not a method of undefined, and it would just crash. So by setting state of data to be an empty array, this allows us to not crash.
That work isn't too confusing compared to, for some reason I'm just having trouble understanding how lines 6 and 7, since you're giving us access to them and change the state.
How long is 6 and 7? So
Like, what are they?
the
Is
constructor.
there an equivalent of that in Python, or is that a unique JavaScript thing?
Okay, so let's look at JSX, for example. Equivalent. So, so let's see if there's like JSX, and this isn't very helpful. JSX is just you can actually not use JSX at all. In fact, maybe here's a good way to go. You can just use JavaScript. And yeah, it React easier. But you can do like a React.render component, and you can give it a class. So, like for example, in our index, okay, index.js file. So what this line does, like we're going to import app, like we're going to go to app and we're going to pull all the code in, and then we're going to render app this way. But we could have done it with a React.render component instead of using JSX. And what that will do is it'll actually instantiate a new object of app. And as soon as that object is instantiated, it'll like use new. And as soon as that object is instantiated, then the constructor gets called. So, I mean, exactly. It's just like an init in Python. And my VS Code is still.
So this is the.
So right. So what we can also log in here. We can go console.log, in constructor. And we'll see that that's the very first thing that gets done. We could even do all this fetching stuff inside the constructor if we wanted to. We don't have to do it in console component will mount. Okay, so if we go back to here, in constructor, in component will mount, render first time, render second time, when the data comes back. So, yeah, I mean, we could just as easily have gone, okay, let's grab this stuff, throw it in here. I don't know if React will freak out if we do a this.setState from within the constructor. I don't think that's proper React, but we could try it. Right here the first time. Are we still thinking about stuff? It didn't. Oh yeah, it caught it. It didn't work. It did do the API call, but it didn't like actually. Oh, I'm lying. It just took a long time from the network, so that was fine. So I mean, you don't really need component will mount. You could do it in the constructor. That leaves me feeling gross, and I'm not sure if I'm just being old-fashioned. But I like to see it in the component will mount. But I don't know that there's actually anything wrong with doing it in the constructor. I mean, the only way to understand, I think the best and most useful way to understand this is that these are simply hooks that get called by React at given times. And if you want to do something, I mean, you could even do it. You could even do it this way, like you could do it in your render method, right? That'd be horrible because you're going to fire off an API call every single time you render, right? So this is gonna never end, right? You're gonna start with render. So can you imagine what this would be like? You're going to start with render. The first thing it's going to do is fire off an API call. Okay, that's going to be asynchronous. So it's going to log render, and then it's going to print out an empty table. And then when this finishes, it's going to do a set state, which is going to cause render to run again, which is going to cause a new API call to get fired again, and then it'll run the full table. Like it'll show the full table out. But this is going to keep going forever. It's going to keep fetching and keep fetching. Every time it renders, it's going to fetch again. Every time the fetch returns, it's going to render again. So you have to have a place where you can do things outside of render. And that's, component will mount it's a great place for that to happen. Because that only gets called once, and you can do those asynchronous things without having to worry about it getting called over and over again. Okay. So what's next? Anyone?
It works, right?
It works.
We're really close to being,
Possibly done.
yeah, at the end of the story.
Well,
So
let's fix this. Data. Oh no. There was actually inside that fix that one thing at all.
Okay. Good idea. So we don't need data here. We don't need our console logs. We want to stick an alt in our image.
I would do that. Oh, I don't.
You have a better idea?
I was going to say your person's name.
Okay, cool. Is that gonna work?
Well, okay, so this.
Did I get something done? Redundant alt attribute. Oh, I see. I think it's like a picture of redundant. Cool. Anything else?
Is it past the linter? It's one of the things on
All right,
the,
let's
done
talk
list.
about our definition of done. Does it pass linter? Good. So we want to do a we want to do a npm run lint.
Are we happy?
All right, that's good. What else is in our checklist of what done means? Yeah, tests. What exactly about tests?
That's we're gonna do that each of the
You-
boards.
Each of the what?
Each of the boards, each of the epics.
Each of the stories.
Stories. Not even
All right, every story needs new tests. So all we really have right now is some lousy test that says it renders without breaking. In fact, it doesn't even work. So
Terrible.
yeah, so our tests are broken. And in fact, it's trying to like go to Firebase in a test, which is awful.
Well, do we need to, I have a question that I completely forgot. So we need to build in a catch. We did that then.
That's a good idea. So we need to do, it's good to have proper error handling. So yeah, it could be the server's offline. I don't know what to do with this error.
Console.
You could at least console log it, yeah. Okay, once. No, but it's mad about, oh well.
What's it mad about?
It's mad about the fact that I'm console logging.
Oh,
Oh,
can we do better than that?
I'm not sure what we want to actually do with it. I mean, yeah, I mean, actually, so it'd be nice to have like an error message on the screen, right?
you could do like an alert.
I think that's worse than a console log.
Yeah.
But
So,
we could have like a little error section or something here. Right? I mean, we could do something like that. It's not really part of the story, so I wouldn't go above and beyond. Like the requirements don't tell us we should do anything about errors, so I would kind of push back and say, oh, that should be a new story. So for now, I'm okay with this. I'll disable no console.
It's an interesting point. To what degree do you understand it as implicit? What's the due diligence for a developer to say, well, it's not explicitly here in the story that I have to have error handling?
I would go ask the people who wrote the story. Is it okay if we punt on this? And usually I would argue that they should always say yes, because this is still like capturing a useful piece of work for the user, and we don't have any design requirements around an error box, right? This is going to be like a new feature, and there can be all kinds of arguing about like, oh, should we have it in purple, and should it have to be up the left, and all this kind of stuff. So,
it's still quite a nascent product. Okay, well, I think it's certainly wise to have error handling.
okay, so yeah, we got the error handling in. Excuse me. It doesn't mean our test pass. So, I mean, our testing situation is pretty bad at the moment. Like, we shouldn't be doing network calls in a test. We need to like mock this up and actually kind of, what we end up doing, there's a way I'm writing a test when you have fetch calls to actually mock fetch and say, okay, in this test, this is what fetch is going to return. and there's a way of like programmatically saying this is how the API is going to behave. So basically, the first thing next round, we're going to really focus in on writing a good test that doesn't touch networking, and we're going to go back to that data that we had in the file and just use that for our test. And so that way, I mean, we haven't wasted our time by having that that user data.json file, because we're going to use that in our test. Yeah, but I think once our tests are done and they're complete and they're passing and they don't rely on networking and we're passing lit and all that stuff, then we're ready to create the PR. And that is when the PR passes continuous integration and it's gotten reviewed, then we can call that story done. All right, I think that's it for tonight. Thanks, everybody.
Are you going to, or are you coming from Mass, or All Hallows Eve?
All Hallows Eve, yeah. Everybody dressed in my company.
Oh, great, cool.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
All my partying on Saturday.
Are you the leader of a department such that it's incumbent upon you to sort of follow company line and demonstrate cultural values, like showing up in a costume?
No, I just like to dress. I already did this all up for Saturday, so it wasn't much more work.
Okay,
Plus, they were donating $100 to charity for everybody who dressed. So
that's great. I was
definitely down.
For marketing like that, Mark has to talk about it, I suppose. I wanted to ask, in your experience as a developer, or just having an insider's view of company dynamics, how many people in marketing have developer skills?
Not very many.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever seen one.
I'm interested in maybe looking for an opportunity where because I'm very, very, very junior, right? But I do have marketing experience, so.
Well, I mean, one area where marketing and developer experience do go hand in hand is like the public website, right? I mean, so there's definitely lots of people in marketing that have HTML and CSS and a little bit of JavaScript sometimes too, skills. So for sure, those go very well together.
If a junior position doesn't seem appropriate for me at some point in the near future, it may be a very, very tech-savvy marketer.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, if you're a tech-savvy marketer and you can do things without having to lean on an engineer all the time to get some front-end stuff done, that's very valuable.
That's the sell. Having been in a couple companies where they're just different compartments and Venn diagrams, there's no overlap.
Yeah.
So I was always knocking on doors, bothering the developers.
Yeah.
It was difficult, especially when I get my job done and there's this big pipeline, and the results of my work could be days, weeks, even years, because of this other pipeline.
Sure.
If there's a subset, a parallel pipeline that we're not necessarily incumbent upon the whole IT department, this mini IT department in marketing, autonomy. Aside from some risks as well, offers great power potential to our people. So, interesting though that sort of a hybrid IT/marketing department is not really a thing yet.
No, it's definitely a thing. It happens all the time. Sure.
Okay, well that's from my point.
Yeah, no, it's not.